So I've taped my paper out, and you guys are going to be using vellum, and you're going to first block out where the title block would be. So at the bottom down here, I would have a 1-inch title block. So I'm going to just take my scale and put a mark and block out where 1 inch would be. And I did that as a very light guideline. You probably can't see it, but it's right along in here. You can see it where I darkened it in. So that's just to reserve that spot. And then what we're going to do is we're going to draw 18 lines. We're going to draw 6 heavy lines, 6 medium lines, and then 6 light lines. And the different line weights are at different scales. So this is where reading the scale is really important. So what I want you to do is, as I said, draw the following lines. Start 1 inch in from the left-hand edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start up at the top, and I'm going to go 1 inch over. And I'll do my line a little darker than I would like you to, just so you can see it on the camera. And you're going to draw a guideline all the way down. And then we've got 18 lines, and I want them spaced 1/2 inch apart. So I'm going to use using the full scale, which is the one that looks just like a ruler that we're used to, with 0 to 12 inches. I'm going to line it up along the edge, and I'm just going to mark off every 1/2 inch for 18 points. And this is much more accurate than marking some, pulling up my scale. So I've got these tick marks all the way down. And now my first line is a heavy line, and it's going to be 25 feet long at a scale of 1/8 of an inch. Well, I don't know how long that is, so I'm going to draw first a guideline all the way across at the top. So can you guys see my guideline up there? Oh, okay. So then I'm going to go to the 1/8 inch scale, and I'm going to measure 25 feet, 4 inches. So if you pull out your scales, let's talk about this so that we make sure that you're all doing it at the correct way. At the 1/8 inch scale, am I looking at the little numbers on that side or the big numbers?
The little numbers.
The little numbers, because the 1/4 inch is my bigger scale, right? So tell me where you see 25 feet on 1/8 inch scale.
It's the next one after 24.
Well, yeah. So it's sharing the 34 with the right here. It's sharing the 34 with the 1/4 inch scale. So here's 24. So here's 25 feet. You could count them, but we've got 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, and the next one's 25 feet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that 25 at the one edge, and then I want to be 25 feet 4 inches. So what does each tick mark at the 1/8 inch scale stand for?
2.
2 inches?
Exactly, 2 inches. So because it's pretty small scale, and if you forget, that was that paper that we filled out. We've got 0, 12, 6, and then there's only 2 marks. So I'm going to go over how many ticks to get 4 inches.
2 ticks.
2 ticks. So I'm going to line up my 25 foot right at that edge, and then I'm going to count over 2 ticks to get 25 feet 4 inches. I'm going to make a little dot, and then I'm going to take my triangle, and when I'm using my triangle, it's always resting on either your T-square or your parallel rule, and I'm going to draw a line straight down. So now I've got 2 guidelines between which I'm going to draw my lines. So then I'm going to pick out an HB lead. I have one loaded up. And there was a question about what is my little white things in here for, so I'm going to go over about sharpening the lead again. So I pull my lead out about 3/4 of an inch. I put it in here. If I hold it back here, I'm going to break it. over and over and over again. You want to hold it right down close, but not touching the part where it sits into. And then I just rotate it and grind it. And you can hear that grinding, right? Okay, so then when I'm done, I blow it off. Well, what's my next step? I can use that white piece in there to get the rest of the graphite off. But remember I said I want to break that tip a little bit. So then I'm gonna just tap it to just break the little bit of edge off. Not too much. So now I want to go over to my line. And you can see my guidelines. And so I'm going to draw a line between here and here. So this was the line I drew across. I measured to here, and then I drew a line straight down. Now I'm going to do 6 lines as heavyweight lines. When you're drawing with a pencil, your pencil, and this is hard for me to show, wants to be angled so it's in the crevice, not like this. Because if I'm like that, I'm going to zoom in and out. So I want to be angled. I want to be above and in that crevice between the parallel rule and the paper. I'm going to start a little bit over from the left-hand edge, and I'm going to back and forth about 4 times. And I want a heavyweight line, so then I'm going to do another line on top of that one. So that's what I'm looking for, is a nice, big, fat, heavy line. And then I'm going to repeat that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more times. I'll do the last one also. Okay, so you would have 6 lines total in there. Now I've got to do my medium weight lines. And here I've got I'm giving away so much of my equipment here. So here I've still got a guideline left from that other one coming down. It came down farther than I needed. This is one of the few times where I'm going to go in and I'm going to erase that guideline. So when you erase, then you brush the graphite away. So now I'm going to do my medium weight line at the 3-inch scale. So I'm drawing a line across to give me a guideline. And I'd like you to pull out your 3-inch scale. And 3-inch scale is very confusing because it's bigger and we're overlapping with the 1.5, and they kind of hit each other up really quick. So the 3-inch scale is the bigger scale, so it's going to be the bigger numbers. And we only see a 1 and a 2 feet. The 3 feet is actually way at the end of the 1.5-inch scale. And at the 3-inch scale, my scale has it broken down into 12 inches, right? So here's 1 inch. So what's this one right here? Yep, half an inch. How about this one right here?
Quarter.
Quarter, right? And then so what's the first one after the 0 then?
1/8.
1/8, yep. So that means I can only be as accurate as 1/8 of an inch. At the 1/8-inch scale, I could only be as accurate as 2 inches. So on that measuring assignment, that's what I was looking for, is that you get the accuracy correct. So I'm going to go over 1 foot, 8. It's already told me where 8 is. And then 3/4. I know that's half. That's 3/4. So I'm going to go over all the way over. Oops, let me get over here. I'm going to go 1 foot, 8, and then 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. So 2 ticks in from the 9. So I'm going to put my scale up here, and because the 3 inches starting at this end, I'm going to actually line up the 8 and 3/4 with the end, and then go over to the 1 foot mark. Doesn't matter which end I start measuring on, right? My line's going to be the same. Then once I get over there, I'm going to draw a guideline down. Why is that out of focus? Does that look blurry to you guys? Yeah. And I'm making it worse. There we go. Okay, now you can see it nice and clear. So here's my line all the way over here, right? These are medium weight lines. So I'm going to go back and pick up my HB lead. This is why you have 3 pencils, because I keep 1 pencil there for lightweight lines, or one for guidelines and one for medium and heavyweight lines. So then I've got my medium weight line here. And this one I just go back and forth about 4 times. And notice how I'm rotating my pencil, and I'm staying in that groove. And then I would do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more. So I will just do the bottom one. Okay. So now we're going to go to our last line, which is the lightweight line. Again, I've got a my guideline's a little too long here. One of the few times I will erase because I don't want to confuse it. And make sure you always use the brush. If you use your hand, you'll smear your drawings. So I'm going to go and draw a guideline across. And then I'm going to go to my 1/2 inch scale. And the 1/2 inch scale, this is so weird that it keeps going out of focus. There we go. So my 1/2 inch scale is shared with the 1 inch scale. So the 1 inch is obviously the bigger one, so it's the bigger numbers, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the 1/2 inch scale is coming in the other direction. So this is actually 10, this 10 is actually for the 1 inch scale. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm only getting the even numbers here. And on 1/2 inch scale, we're a lot smaller. So they don't have any room to put any of the numbers. But I know that halfway through is 6. Half of that is 3. And then we've got 1 and 2. And I've got 1 tick before 1. So that has to be a 1/2 inch. It's a little hard to see on this one because that's why I want you to look at your own scale. But you can see how tight the marks are getting close to each other. This is why you can't measure any more accurately, because they actually couldn't print the scales. It'd just be a big black blob. This is already pretty darn tight. So I want to be at 8 foot 7 inches. So I know that 8 foot is this right down here, the small 8, not the big 8. The big 8 is for the 1 inch scale. So it's the small 8. So I'm going down 8 feet, and then I want to go 7 inches. So I know this is 12, 3, 6. So 7 has to be that next 2 ticks over from the 6 inches, that next longer one. Does everyone see that on their scale? Okay. So then I'm going to put this down here and mark off 8 foot 7. And I think I've said this before, I always like my scale above what I'm drawing because it's a little bit easier to read. So I've got 8 foot 7. I'm going to bring this line down. And then I'm going to draw lightweight lines. And that's with, that's not looking so good. It's with a 2H lead and going back and forth twice. And unlike with lettering, you can always go back and fix a line. So the goal is when you're done that you'll have 6 lines here, 6 here, and 6 here, and they will look very different. One will read very thick, thick, and thin. So thin, thicker, thickest. And then you'll put the title block on where you're staying a 1/2 inch in from the edge. And if you don't have the Ames lettering guide, you just measure out 1/8 inch lines. I still don't have any, mine still haven't arrived here, so you can just measure out 1/8 inch lines to put that on. So that's this assignment. I will post a finished sample on Blackboard for you to look at. And do we have any questions on that? No? Okay, so I am going to take a break. Let's take a 5-minute break. I'm going to get this stuff to show you the lettering exercise. We're going to talk about your favorite building because I'm going to make that due on Monday since we're taking our walking tour on Wednesday. We're going to talk about what you're going to do, and then the rest of the time is going to be your drawing time in the class. So any questions before we take a break? Okay. So
Wait,
while
I have a question. Sorry.
Sure.
How much space was by the title block again?